Greetings, here we are, another day. It's the 23rd of June. It's a Monday. I had to stop and think there. It's late evening. I've just moved into the barn because it's a bit drafty out there. Been a sort of changeable weather today. A lot of wind. It did get quite warm, but not as warm as it has been. And that's been the weather forecast for today. But it's been a good day, as always. Claire's back. Claire, who works for us. We've been on holiday to Scotland, has come back to see our owl, Sirius, out this morning, and she could feed it. It's an amazing sight to see a barn owl coming down for its food, feeding its chicks. We were so lucky. She found some ducklings, and yes. But I think the subject of today is tractors. Yes, tractors. It's not one of my favourite subjects. I'll explain a little bit why. On the farm, a tractor is very important, and quite often farmers are judged by their tractors. The bigger, the better. And because it's a workhorse. It will do the work of many men, being able to move things around, cut grass, make hay, and so much more. So farmers have tractors. Some have very big tractors. Cost probably as much as a house at this day and age. And the technology's moved along so swiftly. Now, back in my day, I remember Dad having a little nutfield tractor. He'd go out in the field. He's quite happy there, going backwards and forwards in the spring. He would roll the ground and chain harrow it and prepare it for the growing season. And then he would have a mower. We had a thing called a finger mower, which was quite a sight. And then you had an acrobat and a woofler. All very strange names, aren't they? But an acrobat basically was a big spindle of spikes which turned over the hay and spread it about. And the woofler was very similar. It would woofle it, to turn it over, and eventually put it into rows for baling. We had a New Holland. So we had tractors, very important. My dad in particular, I think, the success of a farmer is the number of tractors he's got and the size. But I never really got into tractor driving. I don't know why. I think maybe my concentration levels are not that good. I remember going out in the field as a young boy, being put on a field to roll it, to flatten the ground before the spring grass started to grow, and chain harrow it. And because there was no cabs on in those days, so you quite often in March wrapped up, backwards and forwards, going probably about 4 or 5 miles an hour, if that. And my dad took a lot of pride in his farm and what he did. And he would like things to be just straight. So when you roll it, you push the grass over one way, then the other as you come back. So you create like a nice pattern. You might have done it on your lawn if you got a lawn, or seen it on a tennis court or on a cricket pitch. But I found that quite boring. The fact is that you're going quite such a slow speed. There was no radio. Obviously, there's no heating. So you're just there concentrating. My mind would wander. So I used to sort of drive the tractor, make patterns in the field, which would really upset my dad. Not as it made much difference because the field got rowed, but he would be very conscious that the neighbour would be looking over and speaking to my dad. What's your boy up to then? You been drinking? Which I never did, so not on the tractor anyway. So I really took a dislike to tractors, even though I admired them. We had one tractor which was a Forza Major, and my dad called it Bessie. I can't remember why he called it Bessie, but it was Bessie. It was a bit of a workhorse. It was sort of in the 50s build, and it was reliable. There's not much could go wrong with it. It started in all weathers, and it was good. I remember that the exhaust came off, and Dad, rather than trying to buy a new exhaust, decided that a piece of scaffold pole would do it. But happy memories seeing my dad on this tractor. But we had other tractors as well. I was more interested in the animals, the cows and the other animals we had. Lucky enough, I had a brother, Simon, who was younger than myself, but when he came along, he really took to tractors and still has. He still does contracting work, hedge cutting and fencing. For me, it was not meant to be. I learned a lot about it. I learned how to do the mechanics and do basic repairs, which has come in handy since doing this project we got now. And so I could do it. I could maintain it. Could I drive it? Yes, I could. Did I want to? No. But I suppose, it must have meant a lot to me, because when we started this project 11 years ago, we raised money. It was a lovely singer called Carly Paoli, who moved to the area, and our good friend John Bodman persuaded her to put a concert on for us in the local St. John's Church. It was sort of around Christmas time. She's an amazing singer. It's more classical singing, but she looked amazing, sounded amazing, and we raised enough money to buy a Forza Major. Obviously, I was that, shall we say, connected with a Forza Major that I decided that we'd have to have one on this farm. Not what happened to my dad's one, but it was a lookalike, and it came from a local farmer called Clyde Hoddinop, who farms not too far from us. He heard about it, and he was selling his. And he's had this tractor in the shed for 4 or 5 years, if not longer, collecting dust. And it was his dad's tractor. And they bought it from 1958 from new. So there's a bit of history there. And he sold it to us at a very fair price. And John Bodman, again, a good friend who helped organise the concert, brought it over one day. Proud as can be, driving the tractor over here. A bit of work to be done on it, but it was in a barn for quite a long time, but it basically started first time. So it's been quite an adventure with our tractor here. And I know today one of our students who's old enough to drive a tractor and thinks he knows everything about tractors. Why did they do it? Young people, you want confidence, but you don't know it all. Just because you've got a Google doesn't mean that you can know it all. And we had a topper put on, and I told them the other day, how to drive it, low gear, plenty of revs to get this machine, which is a thing that's spindle on the back called a power takeoff takeover, and it spins the blades around to cut the grass. But you need the revs. Not go too fast, but he went too fast. Told him off. Don't do that. No need to do that. And then when he finished, I noticed that he put it into high again. So I said to him today, don't put it into high. There's no need. It's not a speed thing. We're not racing to get it all cut. You want to do a proper job. So, he was understanding. And he did a good job, a good speed. And he goes out there. And I warned him about, making sure don't go over any sort of mounds or bricks. And he got the tractor stuck. Now, the thing about it, because Claire was supervising today from a distance, that he was scared to tell me, which is wrong, really, because I always say to my students, just put your hands up, just say sorry. We all make mistakes, but there's no good hiding a mistake. Claire told me what had happened, but I didn't confront him, shall we say. Make him think, what he'd done. You can't sort of just say, oh, well, never mind. I got it sorted out when he'd gone, so he's got to come back Thursday. And, you need to listen to be able to learn. It's all right having the knowledge, but you need someone to show it how it's to be done. You can learn a lot from Google, step by step. If you've got somebody who's mechanically minded, I won't say I'm mechanically minded, but I know what to do, then listen. I learned from my dad. Never had a tractor driving lesson in my life. But lots of stories about tractors, even though I don't like them, because it was part of the farm, and we had to go up to local Avebury, Silbury Hill, to get our straw, which is quite a distance away. I think it's a good 45, maybe an hour on a tractor and a trailer, because in those days, tractors went about 18 miles an hour at top speed. Very frustrating for the car drivers behind. So I used to go up there and get the bells and back. And I shouldn't say it, but when I was even younger, about 10, 11, I used to go up with my dad and the tractor, and he had a tractor with a cab, and on the way back, I would sit on top of the bells. It was amazing. It could be dangerous if they fell off, but because they're about 8, 9, 10 high. I'm gonna have to check on that. I got some pictures of that, but yeah. So I'll get on top of the stack of bells and just lay down, enjoying the sky, and my dad would drive back through Devizes. Of course, when I got old enough, I was driving the tractors. And one of the things that you want to get done when the harvest is done, you want to get it in as quick as possible, because this country of England can be very changeable. So I'll come back along Beghampton, and anybody who's seen it would know it's a long, quite not say boring road. I shouldn't say it's boring, but it's a road which just goes from A to B. Not a lot of buildings or property in between. And I used to count the white lines in the road, just to keep my mind ticking over, because again, no radios, nothing really to keep me concentrating. Even though obviously I was good on the road, concentrate on my driving. I wasn't sort of just weaving in and out like I would do in a field. And then I had this thing, again, it was wrong really, but I used to see how many cars I could collect behind me. They would be quite frustrated when we got to the little dual carriageway. I would pull in when I could, but it's very difficult on Beghampton. So I had quite a collection of cars behind me. It's like, yeah, I got 10, I got 20 this time. Yeah, so I've affected a lot of people's lives. So we say, if you're stuck behind a tractor when you're in a hurry, it's not good. But there's nothing worth rushing or taking chances. So I remember sort of coming back one time, going along with Beghampton, I got a puncture. And in those days, there's no mobile phones. There's no building or houses nearby. You could try to wave a car down, but yeah, they wouldn't have a phone on them. And so I remember what I did. I always carried a pump, an air pump, which fit on the back of the tractor on this PTO, power takeoff. And I would stop, pump the tyre up, and I probably could get about 4 or 5 minutes before he was going down, and I had to stop again. So it took me a lot of stops, lots of goes backwards and forwards to get back. I got back, and of course then we had a phone at the house, and I could phone up the local tyre company to come in and fix it. It was a long ride back, but I did it, and it was interesting one. Yeah, so lots of memories with tractors, and we got our Bessie now. We got an International, which I'm not overly impressed with. It's okay, but I would like to get a thing called a Bobcat. That's my ambition now. Get a smaller tractor. You don't need the big tractors on our project. It's quite small, but that's on my wish list, and hopefully one day we will raise the funds for that. In the meantime, we're using our tractors, mainly Fordson Major, because the International's got an oil leak. There's always something going wrong with tractors, apart from Bessie, the Fordson Major, who's reliable. Yeah, so lots of times I've been on a tractor thinking I could be doing something else, but animals are my thing. But they do help get in the harvest. They do help cleaning out. That's why we want our Bobcat. We have a little Bobcat, which is a little mini tractor with a bucket on there. It would make our life so much easier. Yeah, so it's quite interesting, the fact. Well, I'll tell you one more tractor story. They got so many. I didn't think that I'll be on the 23rd of June talking about tractors when my passion is everything apart from tractors. But it's all part of life, isn't it? You do things that you don't really enjoy, but have to do. And that's what I've done. And we had a tractor, a Ford. The other thing about farming and tractors is the fact that farmers have a particular like of tractor. Dad was a Ford, which is a blue tractor, Fordson. I think they sort of moved to New Holland now, but anyway, they're sort of blue as the colour. And of course, some people would have Massey Ferguson, which was red. You wouldn't want a red tractor on a blue farm. It's only the colour; they both do the same thing. And then we had a Deutz, which is a German green tractor, and then John Deere, which is green. Which one? Was it Nutfield? Anyway, one was white. So there are these different colours. The farmers have their particular favourite make. I'm not sure if it's the make or the colour, but we had Ford, and we got a Fordson a County. It was a Ford one, but it had like 4 big wheels. It was like 4-wheel drive, had a loader on it, and a very strong tractor for pulling. And we used it for silage. Now, silage is where you cut the grass and put it into a heap called a clamp, and roll it down to get all the air out, and then you cover it with a sheet and weigh it down so it's pretty airtight, and it cooks itself. And the silage is brilliant for the animals during the winter. And we have a silage pit next to our covered yard barn, so it's one wall is built in with breeze blocks, and on the top, obviously, there's a gutter and a roof. And on the other side, we had sleepers. I'll tell you more about that another time, because we actually built this silage pit to take all this grass. So there we have. We were getting our grass in, silage in, and you want to get it rowed as much as possible. So it was a day when it was getting quite high. It's getting up to the high top of the building. You could look over onto the roof. And anyway, I was rolling it away because they were having dinner. Everybody went in. I thought I'll just carry on rolling it because you get the better quality. So I got on the county, went backwards and forwards, and bit by bit I got closer and closer to the wall. And yes, the grass was just above the roof. And we're talking, I don't know, work it out, 12 feet, I suppose, maybe 15 feet high. So the tractor was up quite high. And I was going along, and the grass on the side gave in, and the tractor tipped over onto the roof. So I tipped the tractor onto the roof of our covered yard, breaking the asbestos sheet and the guttering. Now, lucky for me, where it went was like a metal stanchion, a big metal sort of girder, which stopped me from falling through. Probably, if I had gone through the barn, I don't know, maybe I would have died then. Falling down there, the cabs, I suppose would have. Anyway, we can't think about that because it didn't happen. So I had the tractor stuck on the roof. Now, some things in life you dread, and that was one of the things I really dreaded, going in to see my dad and say, "Dad, I got the tractor stuck on the roof." You get it stuck in the field, you get it stuck in a rut. No, I got it stuck on the roof. So I clambered out. I was not the most popular. Nobody was worried about me being trapped in a tractor or falling through the roof, which I could have easily done. They were worried about the guttering and getting the tractor back. Now, the tractors were very sturdy, and my cousin David Franklin had another tractor, a big loader tractor, and we sort of pulled it off, and no real damage was done, a few scratches. Bit to my pride. I was only doing my job, health and safety, yes. What was that in those days? I'd probably say we didn't have health and safety, but we had common sense. And I knew what I was doing. I didn't do it on purpose. It was just one of these things, and it could have happened to anybody. But there you are, a few stories about tractors. Anyway, I've got to go. and just finished feeding the cats and seeing Sirius, my owl, and going in just to do a few updates. So I hope you enjoy some of my stories. I have so many in there. You're thinking, wow, I didn't think I'd have a lot to say about tractors. It's probably the most I've ever talked about tractors. And who knows, tomorrow I might wake up and there'll be a little bobcat waiting for me saying, Quish, here you are. Go and clean the barn out, but don't get on the roof. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Anyway, for me and all my animals, we love you. We love you more.